Live from the BDN Studios, it's Bang and Dang.
That's awesome.
If you don't like that, then
You ain't black.
Look at that, 1858, spring, Washington, D.C. Sickles household buzzing with social life, parties, dinners, political gatherings. Daniel and his wife, Teresa, they're well known in the capital's high society. It was at one of these glittering evenings that a man named Philip Barton Key entered the picture.
Uh-oh.
Key, he was a widower, charming and already well-connected. Yeah, his daddy literally wrote the anthem.
Right.
He and Sickles became friendly, and before long, Key had also grown close to Teresa.
Usually how it goes. He don't treat you right.
Close enough, he began escorting her around town. Oh, wow.
Wow, what Daniel didn't realize at the time was that Philip Barton Key and Teresa, they started an affair. Their rendezvous spot, you asked? Well, it was a vacant house on 15th Street. This is near Lafayette Square.
Jeez, don't even have the decency to do anything? They gotta go bang in a rundown house?
Why, Washington being Washington, whispers of the affair started making the rounds. But somehow Sickles stayed in the dark. Oh, they ain't gonna let him know.
Well, that all changed night of February 24th, 1859. Oh, jeez. Daniel received an anonymous letter. It was blunt, detailed, and impossible to ignore. It spelled out the affair in no uncertain terms. Sickles began quietly asking around about who'd been visiting that vacant house, and he soon found the truth was undeniable. Teresa was indeed involved with Key.
Oh, he's pissed.
They heard her moans and screams coming from the candlelight.
Oh, my. When Sickles confronted her, Teresa initially denied everything. But when Daniel laid out the specifics, the kind only someone who know the whole story could give, she was like, fuck. She was like, all right.
Call it.
All right. And he didn't stop there. He demanded she put that confession in a writing. And she did. And somehow, the written confession found its way into the press.
Oh, somehow. I wonder how.
Splashing their scandal across newspapers and setting off a fresh wave of controversy.
Yeah, and just 3 days after that, February 27th, the drama turned deadly. Sickles, he spotted Key in Lafayette Square. Why are you still hanging out around when you know your shit's all over the newspaper, dude?
Right.
He was chatting with Samuel Butterworth. What happened next became one of the most infamous moments in Washington history. The accounts say Sickles approached, and the conversation went a little bit like this. Sickles says, "Good morning." Key says, "How are you?" Sickles says, "You scoundrel, you have dishonored my house. You must die." Key says, "What for?"
Like he don't.
Oh, come on, Key.
Wow, that's when Sickles drew a pistol, and he fired. The first shot missed. Key, he's now realizing what is happening. He rushed at him, grappling for the weapon. Sickles broke free, fired again, and this time it hit him. Key staggered backward, shouting, "Murder! Don't kill me!" But Sickles advanced and fired 2 more rounds at close range. Damn. Philip Barton Key collapsed, dead. Afterward, Sickles didn't run. Instead, he walked straight to the home of Attorney General Jeremiah Black. When the Popo arrived and they were asking for him, Daniel Sickles went without protest. He's like, "Here I am, boys."
Yeah, but after leaving the house, Daniel Sickles, he returned briefly to his own house. But he was accompanied by a constable, and then he was taken to jail. But if you're picturing some cold, isolated cell, think again, Sickles, his time behind bars looked nothing like the standard prisoner's experience.
Nah, not at all.
Because guess what? Don't nobody care that he just murdered this dude.
Right, for one, he was allowed to keep his personal weapon.
Fuck it.
The steady stream of visitors was so overwhelming that officials eventually gave him the use of the head jailer's own apartment, just so he had enough space to receive them. This sounds familiar. This happened before. Somebody else.
Might be who you're thinking of. We haven't covered anything like this. Oh, I mean, we've covered the guy that, the bootlegger guy that killed his wife.
And they got to have like his own little jailhouse or whatever.
Yeah, he was like, he paid for, it was Nucky. Not Nucky. George Remus.
Yeah, he got.
Remember, he murdered his wife, ran her off the road, and killed her, and then
he had his own like little jailhouse, and he had visitors,
he was having like dinner parties and shit at the jailhouse and shit.
Yeah. All right. For one, he was allowed to keep his personal weapon. And the steady stream of visitors were so overwhelming that officials eventually gave him the use of the head jailer's own apartment, just so he had enough space to receive them. This wasn't just an occasional friend dropping by. His guest list included congressmen, senators, the cream of Washington society. Even President James Buchanan sent him a personal note.
Look at that. Good job, buddy.
Well, like I said, back then.
But not every visit was welcome. Harper's Magazine later reported when Teresa's mother and her clergyman came, The medians were painfully emotional. They told Sickles that Teresa was consumed with grief, shame, and sorrow, and that losing her wedding ring, which Sickles had taken during his earlier visit home, it was more than she could bear.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I loved you. I still
sorry.
do. It was a mistake.
Wow, when the trial finally came, Sickles faced a charge of murder, but he didn't face it alone. His defense team was stacked with political heavyweights, including Edwin Stanton, which is future Secretary of War, James T. Brady, a Tammany Hall ally like Sickles himself.
Oh, if you've been following up on our other podcast, Outlaws and Gunslingers, you know Tammany Hall was no joke.
Yeah. And then came the legal twist that made history. Sickles pled temporary insanity, marking the first time this defense had ever been used in the United States of America. He said, I just seen him and I blacked out. I couldn't control my,
That's exactly what he said, because before the jury, he argued that, or Stanton argued that Sickles had been driven out of his mind by his wife's infidelity.
Right.
That in those moments in Lafayette Square, he wasn't thinking like a rational man. Newspapers quickly seized on the narrative, painting Sickles as sort of a chivalrous hero who had, quote-unquote, saved all the ladies of Washington from this rogue named Key.
Oh. Well, for Key to be like, for what? Wow, the written confession Sickles had wrung from Teresa, well, the court ruled it inadmissible.
Yeah, you can't do that.
Somehow it still found its way into the press.
Well, like we said.
Between the sensational headlines, dramatic courtroom scenes, sheer novelty of the insanity defense, Washington had little else to talk about for weeks. National papers covered the trial extensively, and much of the coverage leaned in Sickles' favor. The result, you guessed it, acquittal.
Acquittal. But in a twist that stunned the public, Sickles then publicly forgave Teresa. He withdrew, at least briefly, from the public spotlight, though he never resigned from Congress, like we said. Ironically, this act of forgiveness seemed to outrage the public more than the killing itself, or even the fact that he just made a legal history with his highly unorthodox acquittal.
Right.
They were more pissed at him for forgiving the little whore than him killing the other guy.
Right.
Which, I mean, back then, understandable.
Right. Oh, wow.